Welcome back to Up North at 4, and joining us now, besides a sleeping dog, we have Steve Sabatke and Michael Caylor from the Merrill Historical Preservation Committee. A very, very cool program that is ongoing right now. Michael, I want to ask you, I'm going to start with you. What is the idea behind these street signs here that are in between us? What's the plan, and what's the process been like behind this?
So as we celebrate what Merrill has to offer, and as we move forward in the community and grow our community, we also don't want to forget our past. So the Historic Preservation Committee, which does main focus is to preserve buildings and homes in the city that have historic significance. But we also wanted to recognize some of the people that came before us that made Merrill a home and left their mark on the city itself, or even in some cases the nation, due to their work. So the group was asked to come up with different names. We were going to select 5, but the names were so great, we selected 11. And this, as spring rolls on, we're going to start putting these honorary street names out and recognizing some citizens of Merrill's past.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Steve, why is this program so important to you guys? Why is it so important to get this started?
Well, we love Merrill. We love Merrill's history. A lot of the past residents are forgotten about. We've made up these colorful signs, and it's going to make Merrill a fun place to visit, actually. Along with this, we're also putting up storyboards for our historical buildings. So you walk downtown or wherever in town, you'll see these signs. You'll see the kiosk with the stories of the buildings, and let's have Merrill a fun place to visit.
Absolutely. And so we have a few of them here with us right now. I'll pull one of these out. And for the people at home, I'm sure they're wondering, like, okay, I live on, let's say, Johnson Boulevard here. Is my address changing? No. What is exactly happening, Michael?
So for example, Clifford Tiny Krieger was a Wisconsin state senator, and he started out in Merrill as a bar owner on Main Street, which isn't a bad occupation, I'll tell you. And where his bar sat is where we're going to honorarily name that street in his honor. Okay. But your street will still remain East Main Street from here and ever. It's just an honorary name. The sign is blue compared to the green street signs we're used to. It says honorary right on the top. But we're going to recognize Senator Krieger and what he did for the Northwoods and what he did for Merrill.
Absolutely. And so these things are just going to sit literally right on top of the already existing street sign. That's the belief there. Yeah.
And I may want to add that Senator Krieger was, he represented the whole Northwoods. In fact, he called himself the voice of the Northwoods. Colorful guy. He started out as actually a fat man for the circus. Okay.
Really?
Those are his words.
I don't know if you're messing with me right now.
No, I'm not. There's a picture of him here. You can see Tiny. But a beloved character. And he went on to be a bar owner, but he loved the Northwoods, and he's an icon.
Absolutely.
And we want to make sure his memory's preserved.
Totally. And so the belief then as well is that someone who maybe is not from Merrill or is from Merrill, they go walking down the street, they look up, they see this blue sign, and they go, huh, I don't know much about Senator Clifford here, but I should learn about him, right? That's kind of the hope, right?
And what we're doing with all these names is there's going to be QR codes on the poles, and people can scan the QR codes and then learn about why that street is named honorary for Senator Krieger or the others. There's also buildings, historic buildings that we're putting the QR codes on in Merrill. They already have the videos manufactured for them, and they can learn about Merrill's past.
Absolutely. I got a few more questions for the two of you, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on Up North at 4. Welcome back to Up North at 4, joined by Steve Sabatke and Michael Caylor with the Merrill Historical Preservation Committee and ongoing efforts to kind of honor the past residents of Merrill. And street signs, honorary street signs is the newest initiative. And we have a couple of them here that we're showing off. And I got to ask you guys about the Voice of America. A native son of Merrill. Michael, what can you tell me about this sign here specifically?
So Hans Klottenborn was actually born in Milwaukee, but his family moved to Merrill, and he was raised in the 700 block of East First Street where Jenny Towers now stands. That's where his house was. And he left Merrill at an early age, and he joined the armed forces to fight in the Spanish-American War. And while he was off to war, he would send correspondence home to his hometown newspaper, the Merrill Advocate. So he's writing stories from the battlefield, and telling about what's happening in the war, and they're reprinting them in the Merrill paper. After the war, he returned to the United States. He worked for the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. At the age of 24, he enrolled in Harvard, and then he went on to join CBS. And by 1936, he was providing live battlefield accounts for the Spanish Civil War. He became known as the voice of America. Everybody knew his name. You know, he was a famous, everybody listened to him at evening. Eventually, he saw the light, he moved to NBC.
There we go, yes.
And he
attaboy.
became a broadcaster for NBC in a career that spanned over 30 years. And he was probably one of the most famous people to ever come from Merrill. And nobody
No,
knows
I was going to say,
who
this
he
is the first I've heard about him. And, you know, Merrill, obviously right down the road from us here in Rhinelander, and having this connection, it's part of the
Feel
whole
the need
program.
to preserve this history.
Absolutely.
By the way, he was mostly radio. When TV came along, he didn't really like the idea of TV. But
Come on.
he stuck with it. I mean, this guy is as famous as Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
So.
And I know who Walter Cronkite is. I've heard that name before.
Yeah. So we also have Robert Russell here. Can you guys tell me a little bit about his story and what the importance of this sign?
Yeah,
here?
Robert Russell, Merrill native, World War II, was a pilot. He was shot down the plane was never found, his body is never found. So he's listed as missing in action, but now presumed killed in action. Again, we're talking back World War II in the 40s, and it's just another Merrill native that went unheralded for years. So we're attempting to preserve the memory of famous Merrill residents, and this is one of our favorite sons.
Yeah.
So. And we want to make Merrill more attractive, make the downtown streets more attractive. When people come through town, they'll be able to see the street signs. We're also putting up signage on our historic buildings. And Merrill, this is going to be a fun place to visit.
Absolutely. And I'm noticing a trend here as well. We have broadcasters, we have state senators, we have soldiers as well. Like, we're hitting a wide array of very important people from the town. Was that important to you guys to kind of make sure a lot of people are represented?
I think it was. There's 3 people that were civil servants of Merrill: a firefighter who lost life in line of duty, a police officer shot and killed in the line of duty, and another police officer who died while serving from a medical related thing. So those are 3 we're going to honor. One of the people we're going to honor, and it's actually new to the program, wasn't original, was Mother Anastasia, and I probably horribly pronounced that wrong, but she came to Merrill with the Holy Cross Sisters 100 years ago and eventually founded Holy Cross Hospital. And we're going to name the 1500 block O'Day Street in her honor because of what she brought to Merrill and saved many lives in the process. And again, they've been in our community for 100 years. So.
Yeah.
I might add that this is a perpetual program that we're taking applications every year for new signs. So we'll vote on them as they come. And again, this is an ongoing process for us, and we're adding more color and more fun to the city.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people are probably big fans of the job that you folks are doing with this whole program, and it's really, really cool, and I appreciate you sharing some of these stories with us today. In the meantime, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Up North at 4.